Hey, 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 welcome back to the Own Your Power Lifestyle Show. I'm Coach Simone Kelly, author, intuitive life coach, and Reiki master with Own Your Power Communications. We're your trusted guide to conscious living, intuitive wisdom, and personal growth. And today we're going to take a dive into a juicy topic that has been talked about a lot on Own Your Power Radio, but we haven't really dedicated a whole topic to it. And for those who know, I moved to Atlanta, and for some reason, it seems pretty popular here. The topic is polyamory. So I'm also going to bring on a very special guest co-host who's been a regular on the show, CJ Staples. Welcome back.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me back. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, CJ's been on probably like at least 5 shows. I can't keep track. It's been a minute over the years.
Been a few.
As helps us with comic relief. But today's some serious topic. So and I actually bumped into him when I was in New York like a month ago. And we talked a little bit about it, and I was just asking him all these questions, and I was like, how does this work? So with that said, can you, CJ, give us the definition of polyamory lifestyle? Oh wait, we forgot to introduce everybody else. So Shani, tell us where you're from, what city you're in.
Hey, I'm Shani. I'm actually from Brooklyn, New York, but I live in Atlanta. And you're right, polyamory is kind of popular here. I would say it's like the Black Poly Central.
You're in the right town.
Yeah. And I'm an educator and I do like writing about relationships. Actually, I do a lot of writing about polyamory. So
okay. Well, you got enough material, I'm sure.
yes.
Well, thanks for being here. I'm gonna go to Parina. Where are you located and what do you do?
Greetings. I'm in Brooklyn. Shout out to Brooklyn. I'm an intimacy coordinator. I am a licensed acupuncturist. I am also a community organizer, and I'm a musical theater performer. And so I've done some like fun sketch comedy online that was polyamory based, as well as some other topics. But if you hashtag search poly by nature, you'll probably find me.
Oh, wow. Okay. I love that. You're in Brooklyn too. We got another Brooklynite, Monique.
Yes.
Monique, here. Share with us where you are now. I know you're not in Brooklyn right now, but
yes, I'm actually in South Florida right now. I'm in the Hollywood area, and I have been doing a lot of the Tantra work in a poly community, as well as being a yoga instructor, Reiki master. I have a nonprofit organization where I'm working with women from puberty through postmenopause and working in holistic services as a yoga instructor. So I wear many hats and a designer, of course.
my designer, y'all. I always have to thank you, Monique, for being here. So funny how all the New York people always seem to find each other. No offense, CJ, you still represent Jersey. Mark, welcome. So tell us a little about who you are and where you're located.
Hey, how's everybody? My name is Mark L. I'm originally from Chicago. I'm a resident of Atlanta now. I've lived in Atlanta long enough to claim Atlanta. Yeah, that's basically where I reside. I basically am, I guess everybody here feels so like, over my level as far as what I do. I'm just a corporate America dude. I work for a company and I do integration consulting, which is basically just making two operating systems talk. But I think I'm pretty interesting, so it works.
Sorry, as a life coach, don't ever say I'm just to anything.
Hey, you got it.
Better claim all the power you bring to this world, brother. All right, with that, CJ, do you want to define polyamory for us?
Do I want to define? Okay, y'all. Okay, don't judge me, y'all. I know, some people have different. So basically, as from a semantic standpoint, right? It's like poly is many, amory is loves. So multiple committed relationships of various kind of degrees, all operating at the same time, but not necessarily with everyone involved. You could have dyads, you could have triads, you could have whatever the 4 is for iads. You could have however many you want, but it doesn't have to. It can look however you want it to look, as long as everyone consents, everyone is enthusiastic, and in agreement of what those parameters are looking like.
All right, well, with that said, I want to ask all of you, hopefully we can keep them short because I know we got a lot of questions. How did you get introduced to this world? What led you to explore it, I should say? From what I understand from people I know, they've told me because, I guess it's one way of saying that, like, a lot of people cheat, so why just be honest instead of having to deal with cheating? That's one way I've heard of it. But also I've heard that, sometimes it's okay to love more than one person. It's possible, That's just what I've heard. So I'm just curious from your perspective, what made you explore this new lifestyle? Well, it's new to me, but no, but the lifestyle for you. Who wants to go first? Parina? Parnia. Lord, why am I adding extra letters?
You're doing great. It's like Chronicles of Narnia.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, I'll go. So already jumping right into like super controversial arguments that happen very often and very surface in polyamory education and even just polyamory discourse is that like one, it being an identity and therefore not an action. So that's argued. It's very argued. I like to consider it an identity and specifically not an action, mostly because it encourages people to use their words and define what their actions are, because everyone loves in a different way. Everyone receives love in a different way. Everyone understands love in a different way. And that goes with attraction being different as well. Why we're attracted to people, what sparks our attraction, and the difference between attraction and interest. Like once we've established attraction, what the continued interest looks like. So like this wasn't a discovery that I made with a partner. This wasn't a thing that was couple centric. And though it happens that way often because we're in such a mononormative society and indoctrination, for me, polyamory was a self-discovery on my own. I read a definition that was just the ability to love more than one person. And I said, oh, I identify with that. And that's exactly how I've lived my life. It was a very shallow learning curve for me. So I didn't have to change a whole lot in terms of my dating experience.
Okay. Anybody else want to go next?
I can go. Well, I can tell you honestly, I came to it as a cheater. I started out in a cheating thought process, and that's simply because, kind of like just piggybacking on what Parnia said, we were indoctrinated to believe certain things as we grew up. There's supposed to be this one magical person that you're supposed to meet and spend the rest of your life with. For some reason, in my teenage years, it just didn't fit. It didn't make sense that I could like this person. And if I like that person, I got to stop liking this person in order to like that person. But I feel like I like both of them. So it took some time for me to arrive to my older years where I started to realize that being truthful, being transparent, and learning these things and being able to move forward in life, knowing that I'm being authentic about who I am, is kind of how I arrived there. Even though I arrived there as a cheater, it forced me to research and actually examine, what are my reasons for these relationships and why do I feel this way? And in that learning process, though, I can honestly say, yeah, I probably broke some hearts and burned some bridges and all that good stuff. But the best thing about it is that I was able to learn more, believe it or not, more of who I am as a person and what I find to be something that I can live with. So yeah, that's how I came to start to research these, what they call alternative lifestyles at this point.
Right.
But that's how I came to polyamory.
Thank you.
That's fascinating. I didn't know that, Mark. And yeah, I mean, we never really had a conversation about origins. But yeah, that's just very interesting. And I know that obviously is a lot of people's stories. I just never really. But yeah, no, I love that. I love that.
Shani or Monique, who want to go next?
Sure, I'll go. I kind of came to it more like Parnia. I think it was more a journey of self-discovery. I was actually in a monogamous marriage for 10 years, and I never wanted to cheat. Like that was never a thing for me. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I need to go find someone else. But after my marriage was over, I will say I did feel like Mark as a teenager. Like I didn't understand what people's problems were when it came to, especially like if you dated somebody who somebody else dated, they would be like, "Oh, how could you do that?" And that never made sense to me.
Girl code.
Right. You can have my leftovers. That's what I would say.
Right. And that never made sense to me. I had a high school boyfriend and we definitely openly cheated
Wow.
each other. But we was, he was doing his thing and I was doing my thing. And then when we were together, that was my boo. And I thought it was perfectly fine. But I actually hid that from a lot of my friends because they would not accept that.
Right.
So that I, did what everybody does. You get married, you have children, because I didn't know that people were out here doing this. I didn't know this was an option. So after my separation, I was in a divorce support group on social media and I saw somebody mention a polycule. That's the word they used. And I'm like, oh, what's that? And she said what it was. She said, like, it's my chosen family, and some of us are like intimately related, and some of us are not. Some of us relate intimately and some of us don't, but we all like collaborate and we're community and we love each other and like things are free flowing and the love is unconditional. And that really called to me. So I'm here more to get away from the nuclear family. I'm more here to get away from the relationship escalator and just trying to live more into organic, authentic connections that just feel good and not be limited by monogamy.
Love it, love it. Monique,
Yes.
tell me
Yes.
a little bit about yours back in the day. So
I feel like I've always been this polyamorous person. I've never really had relationships that were not open enough for me to express love across the board. So my self-discovery came when I joined a group called Progressive Love with Kenya Stevens and Carl Stevens. I had joined with them and they had open relating. They had different versions of relationships. So you could come in as a monogamous person and still be validated and still be honored. And you can come in as a polyamorous person learning about different things. So I came in as what I thought was a monogamous person and discovered I was polyamorous all this time. And so just by definition and all these new terms, back in the days, it was always open relationship. And so they had this open relating conversation where I discovered, well, all these years, even in my relationship, my quote unquote marriage relationship, we were poly and we didn't know that we were operating in that way because we were just very open about, there were no boundaries and no ownership, and so, so I discovered it and I discovered it back in, maybe it was like 2014, 2015. And I was just like, yeah, this is what makes me feel good. And I'm in the beautiful relationships now. So
CJ, leave that the best for last. Let me tell you.
Oh, no, definitely not the best. It's so interesting. We all have, I think, different kind of entryways because I was in a monogamous relationship that then turned into a non-monogamous relationship. It was kind of, started off as just kind of lifestyle or swinging, just kind of like the more physical interactions and no emotional or romantic connection. And at some point, I, started doing a little bit of my own research, and I came across, the idea of polyamory and that relationship style, and I brought it to her, and yeah, she was like, "Oh, well, I kind of had some experience with that in the past, but I didn't really like vibe, so, but I'll give it a chance for you." And like, fast forward, we are no longer in a relationship. But what it did for me was it just opened me up to the idea that, like, yes, of course, like it is possible to love more than one person at the same time, and that doesn't devalue the love that you have for either one of those people because there's no limit to the amount of love that you can give and receive, right? So yeah, I just started, dipping into the communities and having conversations with people, learning a lot, reading a lot, definitely grew as a person just in general. I think now if I ever decided like, oh, I want to be monogamous, like I could be like the best monogamous person ever because like I communicate better. I'm more emotionally intelligent. I'm more self-aware. I'm like communicating with people. People be like, yo, oh my God, he asked me how I was feeling after this thing. Like it just blows their minds that like a brother could really like be showing up this way in relationships. So I appreciate what it's done for me. The women that I've dated throughout my journey have like elevated me in so many different ways, and they've challenged me and made me want to be better than I was the day before. So it's just been a really great journey of like self growth and reflection and constant improvement. So yeah.
Wow, I love all of your answers. That just really shows how much you have to be a good communicator. You have to be I guess know yourself to know what you'll put up with and what you're willing to do. So my question is, how does the conversation start? Like, let's say for instance you're with somebody in a monogamous relationship, or do you never just do that anymore? Is this you
Yeah.
Hell no.
No, no.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask this. Using CJ as an example. So when you said swinger, that's what I think, and I'm sure a lot of people mix them up, right? So there's a big difference, right? The swinger is more like free, I don't need to know your name kind of thing. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong.
You're definitely right.
Yeah,
The swinging is the physical aspect. Swinging is physical.
Yeah.
Polyamory is more emotional. There are physical aspects to it, but it's more of the emotion. Just think about it like this. If you're a swinger, you just go into the corner store for a minute. Okay, you just going to go grab a piece of candy and go home, as opposed to someone who's in a polyamorous relationship. Like you made the commitment to go to Sam's Club and sign up for the membership, and you get discounts, and you get coupons, and you go and you get things for a lower price, and you bargain and you negotiate. And I'm saying I'm just trying to give a little analogy. I'm just saying.
The bodega versus
Sales call.
I'm saying you there to stay for a while. Poppy and them over here at the bodega, they might remember you, but you might just stop in there just one time. You never know. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Like polyamory is this like free for all, and people are just like doing whatever, and they have all these millions of relationships. Well, love is infinite, but time is not.
Time is absolutely not. You're right.
But it's not a free for all. Some people think they hear polyamorous and they think promiscuous, and it's not really always that. Some of us do dabble in the lifestyle also, but I would say most polyamorous people don't want to be called swingers because that's not what we are. We want to love, we want to feel committed relationships. And there is a max to how many, just like there's a maximum to how many children I'm willing to have because of the number of, my resources, etc. There is a limit to the number of like relationships I'm willing to have. And that depends on what is it going on in my life and the various capacities and what type of relationship I want to have. So it's more complicated than I think a lot of people think it is. It's not open relationships for sure.
That leads to a question one of our members had. Who chooses who, I guess, and how do you establish ground rules? Because that is like I see it's probably different in every relationship, right? Can you give an example of maybe one of you tell us example of some of the ground rules?
I'd like to share. I can tell you just in my current situation, we got connected through the Open Relating Progressive Love Academy, let's say with Kenya and Carl Stevens, and we got to know each other because it was a community, and within that community we all connected. And when we connected, I connected with a partner that we found a lot of things in common, and then the conversation, it was already a given that we were in this lifestyle. So we moved into a relationship. We got into a full-time relationship, but what it is about rules is nothing is written in stone, but the one thing we do is we respect one another and we hold space for one another. So if for whatever reason, we have additional partners, some of them are support partners emotionally, support partners financially, maybe support partners just to meet the needs of the individual, but we're very open and transparent with one another about those relationships and the people that we are involved with. So there's nothing where he doesn't know who I'm dealing with and why I'm dealing with this individual. So we just make sure that the communication is open and honest. We make sure that we validate one another's feelings and thoughts. And we also make sure that we hold space for one another. So if I need to go on a vacation and meet with a friend who gives me something that my intimate partner doesn't give me, then we hold space for that. And we talk about, we have discussions in and around that.
Okay. And I'm curious, do any of you have children?
Yeah.
So you're the only one that has children. So how does that come into play? Do they?
I think both have children and Mark has children. My children are relatively young. They still live in the home, and I am nested recently, moved in with my current with a current love, and he also has children. So we have children in the house like all the time, up to 5. So, I never know how to answer that question. My kids don't really care. If they ask questions, I answer them, and I'm honest about whatever it is that I'm doing or who's here or there, but they don't care because it's their norm and they just live in life. Like, it's not like there's nothing. They just have more adults to care for them, in my opinion. It's just, like I said, I try to reject the nuclear family model because I just don't think it's natural. I just don't think this is how humans were meant to be raised. I don't think that 2 people is enough to raise children. And I don't have much family. I don't have grandparents. You know, my mom lives far. And so I reject the nuclear family. I'm not going to make my kids, you know, suffer through a single mom life. You know what I mean? I would like them to have more family. So that's how I kind of incorporate my kids into this. As far as like the relationship goes, you know, I don't think rules is the right word that most of us would use. I think we would maybe say agreements. We would say that we
Yeah, I'm picturing a scroll on the door and you look.
no, I don't have ground rules in my relationship. We have agreements and we talk to each other all the time. There is so much talking. That's really what we do a lot of. We talk.
I think the
My,
difference. Oh, sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, Parina. Sorry about that.
That question that you asked earlier from your viewers, Simone, really I think, I can't be totally sure, really points to the conflating between lifestyle and polyamory. And I'll touch on that term lifestyle. I meant to earlier because it was part of the common controversial arguments, is that many people want to not consider polyamory a lifestyle, shy away from the term entirely in order to really maintain that difference, because the swinger community kind of coined the term lifestyle. They like branded it. So if you go to a lifestyle event, you're going to a swinger event, which is an entirely different culture. And like Mark was saying, swinging is a physical practice, which is why I also try to like establish, whenever I'm encouraging folks to have some sort of groundwork to understand into understanding polyamory so that they can communicate themselves and understand other people, is to consider polyamory an identity only and not a practice at all. While swinging is a practice, it has scenes. You start and end a scene and then you go home. And like to Shani's point, a lot of folks, a lot of swingers and polyamorous actually butt heads often at these events and in the world, because like you may go to a swing and there's overlap. So many polyamorous are swingers, and the two can't exist in the same human being. So when this person is going to a swinger event and they confront two swingers and they start negotiating a scene that has a beginning and an end, and they learn that this person is polyamorous, all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're not going to take my man. Like, oh, this isn't permanent. Oh, this is not a real relationship. This is sex only.
Yeah.
So heads a lot.
Segue to my next question, and I'm going to read it the way she wrote it. This is Amina from the Bronx, New York. She goes, "Do you ever feel like you want the other woman or man to be gone, to get gone? Have you? Wait, hold on. Have the other man or woman? Oh, I'm sorry, this is worded weird. Basically, she's just saying, would you be jealous in any way, or has that happened?
Have we ever been jealous?
Oh boy.
Yes.
Right.
In my life, before polyamory was even in my life, I felt jealousy, because jealousy is a natural human emotion. So jealous sometimes, yes. But again, talking through things, communicating through things, all of that happens. But yes, I felt jealous.
I think
That I felt jealous. I probably want more time. Time, but not jealous. I've always, and this has been even in my monogamous life, I really never had that energy of jealousy. It was more so like, okay, we need some time. So I think with polyamory, just to speak a little bit more about the relationships, for me, there was a vetting process. So you kind of vet the people that you are going into these polyamorous relationships to make sure that we're all on accord with where we are with our emotions and things like that. I think so that therefore the jealousy element has never been an issue.
Okay.
got you. I think. Well, I was going to say, I mean, one thing that a lot of people don't take into account is that um, when you identify as being someone who is polyamorous, a lot of times what it does is it opens your world up to so many different things. A lot of people don't understand that just identifying as someone who is polyamorous gives you all of these new ways to communicate, teaches you about transparency, teaches you, how to embrace these situations. And jealousy being one of those things. And I know, Monique, you said you don't really had a chance to experience it. One thing that we do learn how to do is to go within and go, hey, why the hell do I feel like this? What is it that's causing me to feel this discomfort? In a monogamous world, you usually can go ahead and just say, it's just jealousy. But in the polyamorous world, it teaches you to go inside and say, hey, what am I upset about? Do I want more time, right, Monique? Something like that. Do I need to spend more time? Do I feel needier this week than I did last week? So it's not necessarily a jealousy, but it's more of a way for you to introspectively look at the things that are happening and sitting with those feelings and being able to communicate. I can tell you, even in my work life, just having identified as polyamorous, I'm able to communicate a lot better. And it just don't stop at relationships because honestly, my belief is that anything you do with a person is a relationship of some sort, be it a tiny, small piece of time or something that lasts forever. It's a relationship. So even in these relationships, you have to do what? Relate, right? So I think that's one of the major parts that people kind of they discount because in my monogamous life, probably would have wanted to keep most of my thoughts to myself, out of fear, out of worry that, hey, if I say, hey, that girl, she looks really good, that I'm gonna get my head split wide open. So yeah. It's
That leads me to another thing. Since you're talking about jealousy and time, I have another question from Dr. Tiff in LA. She said, many people are curious about how polyamorous relationships handle time management or scheduling. Do you have any creative tips for balancing quality time with multiple partners without feeling overwhelmed? I like
Google
that.
Calendar.
Really? Wow.
Yep. Yep. Because just like what Mark said, everything is relating, whether it's your work life or it's your romantic life. So I'll have a date night scheduled on the same calendar that I have a meeting that for work. It's all connected. It all gets sent to my smartphone. It all gets sent to my phone. You know what I mean? So, or my smartwatch or whatever. So it's like you are literally just figuring out a way to integrate everything that you do in your life so that it moves more seamlessly. And yeah, Google Calendar is one of those things. There's all types of like different relating type apps too that connect you to your partner. So when you can't see them, you can still relate to them. Like I was in this little house app where you have like a fake cat and a plant and you can write little notes to one another and just say like, oh, thinking of you, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, even if you're not physically there, there's all of this technology that allows you to kind of just be there with your partner in other ways.
Okay. Now,
Your capacities as well. Like how much time do you actually have? Just knowing your capacity is also, we don't all have the same capacity. Some people have like 5 partners and some people have like 2.
That was my next question. Thank you.
What I've
Is there a chat?
I've been able to do is plan and schedule trips. So there might be a weekend I might spend with one partner and we make it a time the whole weekend that we spend together. And then I might not see him for another couple of months. So, it's excursions that I kind of do with them on occasion. And it's all depending on the need because they all serve different elements of what I might need.
So question, on average, and I mean, this is probably hard to even gauge because everybody has different relationships. Do most of you live with your partners or is it like long distance? You have, 2 partners at home, one in another city? Like how do you?
For me, I have one main partner that we live together. And then everyone else is included in our, we go travel to them or whatever, but I do have one main partner that I live with.
Okay. Anybody else?
Same. I live with a partner and have had, partners basically, whether they're 30 minutes away or 3 hours or whatever, like, you just, and usually they have other partners as well. So it's like, we all kind of like doing a similar dance in a way. So just kind of, again, it's all about having that conversation at the beginning, right? So figuring out what their capacity is, if it's compatible with your capacity and how much they're looking for from any additional partners that they add to their lives. So.
And as far as the vetting goes, do you go into, I guess, aside from being sexually attracted, I'm sure that's not the main thing. Do you look at like things you like to do, like hobbies and all that kind of stuff, like to see that how you get along, like a regular relationship, obviously?
It is. It's a relationship. Period.
Yeah.
It's a regular relationship. Literally a regular relationship.
So look, I'm gonna be honest with you. My biggest thing is I'm a germaphobe, and I have a question about STDs. How do y'all handle that part? I'm just curious, like how because I know TJ told me that people get tested often and all that kind of stuff. Okay, go ahead.
I would say that okay, one of the things you have to assess when you're with somebody or vetting someone is what's their risk tolerance? What kind of practices do they engage in? That's part of the vetting process. I have to trust that the person that I'm with cares about themselves, right? Like I have to trust that. And if I don't, then the only person whose behavior I can change is my own, right? I can decide whether I want to interact with that person sexually or not, or how I choose to. Do I choose to use a barrier or not? All of those decisions are my own risk tolerance. For me personally, I'm typically getting tested every 3 months, whether I introduce somebody new or not. That's just the way that I typically do it. And I find that most polyamorous people are pretty conscientious. And I don't recall a time with none of the people who I currently relate with have, none of them skipped asking me for my results. Let's say that.
Okay.
Everybody asks for results around here and they want to see them and they better be within the last 90 days because a lot of times we don't want to see your old results. I don't want to see your results from last year. What you're doing now. So we're conscientious.
Yeah, a lot can happen in a year, for real.
A lot can happen in 2 weeks.
I just also want to add that you also have to understand that some polyamorous relationships doesn't always mean physical intimacy. So even with that being said, knowing each other's status and knowing each other's style and how we take care of one another, I have a few partners that I don't have any intimate relationship with as far as physical is concerned, but they do offer me emotional. They do offer me that emotional support, as well as maybe if we do anything physical, it's hugs, it's that kind of affection that is different levels to it. But for a few of my partners, we just don't even have that. We don't have that connection.
I would have never thought. I always thought everything was physical. I mean, in addition to the. Okay.
And that goes.
It depends on how you
I'm
define.
learning. That's why we're doing the show.
Depends on how you define your polyamorous situation, because I think everyone has their own style and how they practice or how they live in that style, and so you have some people who have multiple husbands or multiple wives in those situations. So it really depends on how you do it. With me and my partner, we're very communicative about if we're going to be physically intimate because we are the primary center of everything that is around us. And so we do communicate if there is a intimacy that we are seeking to have. And we're very open about why that might be with another individual. But at the same time, because we are operating with the means of support, a supportive community, we pretty much established those things a long time ago.
Okay.
The STI conversation comes up a lot, and it really points to a stigma that polyamorous people suffer from because people get overly concerned about it. And a lot of research has shown that people who engage in open relationships in non-monogamy are either less prone to STIs than your monogamous population, or just the same amount of exposure. And the theory around that is that there's more the theory around that is two reasons. It could be both, it could be either, it could be a combination. Is that one, non-monogamous folks tend to be more honest. We've learned to be more honest in our relationships. And the second is that we tend to be more sex educated. So we understand more about sexual testing, about STI testing, about what those results mean, and about what a full panel actually includes, about at what point and what point of exposure we are.
Right.
We would potentially give our partner an STI, all the above. So
Gotcha. Oh, this is good.
a little fun fact for you.
Yeah. Relief for the germaphobe in me. No, but and to be honest too, because of, like I said, what I do for a living, I do readings, right? So I have a lot of clients that I've had clients that are in polyamorous relationships that are still not honest, which is
absolutely. Listen,
Look,
so I will say.
Oh, go ahead.
So I will say, like, to all of your points around like STI testing and like the difference between the two communities. Like, I've spent a little more of my life as dating monogamous, than I did dating in polyamorous communities, and I can say with no problem at all that every single woman that I've connected with, and since I've started dating polyamorous, has asked for results and has given results. I had never in my entire monogamous dating career ever had a woman require that I get tested before we started having sex. Now, how it would start Now, like, hey, listen. Every single time I say that to somebody, they go, "Oh, I would," and it's like, okay, well, then everybody's saying that. So I get what you're saying, but like, I'm telling you my experience. I dated a lot, and I had a lot of like women that didn't ask, and it would, and if I was in a serious relationship with them, it would go with, okay, we start having sex with barriers, and after a year, maybe a year and a half, that first time you don't, and then that's just whether she gets on birth control or you pull out or whatever, like it's always like, okay, now we can start moving into this new area. And none of us have ever asked for any kind of testing results. And so when I say like, yeah, there's a lot of like sexual education, there's a lot of like honesty and transparency in this community, like unlike anything I had ever experienced when I was monogamous.
Wow. Okay.
Well, it's more like,
Might
I
be
like to
so
say
much-
it kind of goes more toward alignment with everybody. We understand, and it's like you embrace, I am going to be ethically non monogamous at this point, which means these people that I'm going to deal with more than likely will also be ethically non monogamous. So we got to be extra sensitive about making sure that things are good, because you're not just affecting you and that person, you're affecting the people they deal with, and they're affecting the people that you deal with, and you got a bigger responsibility. And nobody wants to play hot potato. Let's just go ahead and leave it at that. Where did it come from? Where did it come from? Nobody wants to do that. So we're very serious about that. And the funny thing about it is the only thing that separates what happens in the monogamous world and the polyamorous world is that people that hear many, they just somehow lose it. Like, you should be asking for results. You should be vetting people. You should be seeking alignment. You should be doing all of these things, even in a monogamous space. But in a polyamorous space, it's imperative that you do that. One of the things that's what I mean by people don't look at the growth you actually experience when you open up, because then you learn all these new ways and these new things that you should have asked for a long time ago. You should have been able to do this in your monogamous world. I mean, I flat out was told by older men as I was growing up, oh, ain't nothing wrong with getting a little side piece. Well, why I gotta be a side piece though, man? I mean, you know, just don't let your wife find out. Why are we doing that? Why do I have to concoct these marvelous lies? Now, at 18, 19, 20, I was fantastic. I could lie my ass off. I had no problem with it. At 52, let me tell you something. If I sent the email yesterday, uh, it's a miracle, because I'm not about to sit here and lie to you. I'm going to tell you what the hell it is. This is what it is. This is who I am. Let's roll or let's not roll. It's about alignment. So, yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you guys sharing and being so open and educating my Own Your Power audience. I'm curious, do you have any books or resources to recommend to our audience to see if maybe there's something that they're interested in exploring more?
There's a book I'd like to, I don't have it with me right now, but it's called Up Level by Kenya Stevens. It's dialogue and conversations and open relating, and how to be able to communicate in these polyamorous relationships and monogamous relationships. So she has an excellent book, and I'll share it with you, Simone, on the back end, but it's an excellent book, and I've been reading it. My partners have been reading it, and it will help you navigate to some degree with the communication part of dealing with these types of new types of relationships.
Is there like a dating or something you guys go to? I mean, how do you find each other? That's another question. Just word of mouth?
Well, it's funny. I think the community, it's kind of a reach one, teach one. So you bump into somebody who is polyamorous, and then they lead you to these communities, and then you find your chosen family from there. That's how I got involved. Funny enough, I met one person on Plenty of Fish. I think I pretty much deleted that app a week later, and it's been just straight through since then. But I mean, there's so many dating apps out there. Each dating app sends a different message as to what you're looking for. Facebook dating is a wreck. I don't even want to talk about it. I never joined it, but the stories I've heard are hilarious. They sound like a Tubi movie. But most people.
Yeah, Plenty.
Yes,
I heard was the worst one.
it is, but it got me to the community, so it worked for what it was supposed to.
Any other
I
research?
think Ethical Slut is a great book.
Ethical slut.
Ethical Slut, and that is exactly the title. And it talks about being ethically non-monogamous because I think for people to determine if they're going to be a swinger, sort of a tourist versus someone who wants to be polyamorous, who's somebody that's a lifer, they need to understand what ethical non-monogamy is first, because the first thing you have to be is honest. And the first person you have to be honest with is yourself, right? So I think Ethical Slut is a great book. I can't call the name of the author right now. Parina, do you know the author of that book? Easton. Yep, Darcy Easton. That's it. Thank you very much.
I'll put it in the show notes for sure.
Excellent book. Excellent book.
She had a great speech at she was featured and welcomed at Black and Poly's like 5-year anniversary, and her old white ass got right up on that podium and said, listen, if it wasn't for the Black community, I wouldn't have been here. I learned love from Black people.
Right on.
I was like, okay, go ahead, Doc.
I like nonviolent communication. I thought that book was really helpful for just my own, because you have to communicate so much in polyamory. And I'm definitely who needs to work on my delivery sometimes. Maybe, a little.
You like to tussle a little bit.
Being girl, I already know. Sometimes it'd be too hard for people. So I got a nonviolent communication. And a lot of people like Polysecure. It had a lot of moments that I liked. Some of it kind of to me encourages a little bit more hierarchy than I personally prefer in my dynamics, but I still think it's a good place for you to like learn about, attachment and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Open Deeply is another great one as well. Open Deeply.
Deeply? Okay.
Yeah.
Jessica Fern has both Polysecure and Polywise. And it's her voice, but it's a lot of her husband's work, and he's pretty brilliant. I got to give it to him. And I could sit here and like recommend Ethical Slut, Polysecure, Polywise, why it's okay to be non-monogamous. Justin Clarity, I got to throw out his research into everything because he provides a really good framework around understanding polyamory through a Black liberation lens. And I really appreciate him for that. But honestly, the best thing that anybody could do for themselves when they're learning about how they love and trying to engage in relationships, especially multiple relationships, is going to fucking therapy. Get some fucking therapy.
I'm ready for that one.
Go get some DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. Get some EMDR therapy if you think you're suffering from some kind of PTSD, and do that work.
Yeah, that's a good for everybody. Everybody needs to go to therapy at some point. Well, thank you so much for sharing, guys. This has been so educational. See, CJ, I was easy on them. The questions were.
We'll do a part 2 where it gets a little juicy.
Oh yeah. Oh, you want to share some stories? Okay.
Yeah. I love the horror stories. If I'm like, as much as I don't like to engage in drama, I will listen to it all day.
Is there one horror story before we wrap up?
CJ, dang.
Oh, we all watch Tyler Perry.
No, we don't.
On a good note. Let's end on a good note. All right, next time we'll do horror stories. We've done dating disaster shows. I think CJ, you might have been on one of those, so maybe we'll some poly to the next one we do.
Dating disasters. Oh dear.
Yeah, we've had some funny shows about that. Thank you so much again for being a part of the Own Your Power family. Welcome. Now you're a part. We'll call you back for other topics, I'm sure. And everybody who's tuned in, make sure you check my website out. Go to ownyourpowerlifestyle.com to learn more about my intuitive life coaching, Reiki, and I also have a mentorship program starting. So definitely check that out. Join the mailing list. Listen to all of our past shows. We have so many shows. We've been around since 2012. And so many shows from, when we were in Miami as well. So we have topics from everything from personal development to small business to alternative healing to polyamory. So thanks again for tuning in. Remember, anything you want is attainable. Own your power.
Don't you